Now, before we get into the fun stuff of actually learning about virtualization, installing VMware ESXi or Proxmox, we have to kind of understand the theory first. So I'm going to quickly go through the theory here. It should be about 20 slides, not too much. And then after that, then following videos should be about how to do those things. So the first question is, what is a server? And quite simply, a server is a computer that gives other computers stuff. Stuff is called resources. For example, everything online. So websites, social media, games, streaming, everything that you do online lives somewhere, and that somewhere is known as a server. So a server is holding all of those resources, those pictures, videos, text, PDFs, whatever it is holding those on a server somewhere around the world. There are many types of servers. So we have servers can be big, servers can be smaller, servers can be any computer connected to a network. So it could be a Raspberry Pi, it could be a Dell XPS 15 like I'm going to be using, it could be an actual fully sized server rack, it could be a mobile phone, it could be a tablet. Once it's connected to a network and it's able to give other things on the networks, other devices on the network, some form of resource. It could be time. Time is a resource that it could. So we could have a time server, and that simply provides time for other devices. That's a server. If we have a server on the network that gives every other device updates, that's a server. If we have pictures, videos, audio, PDFs, anything at all, once the computer can give other computers services, once the computer can allow other computers to access those services, it's a server. So here again are some types of servers. In the top left hand corner here, this one looks like one of those Synology NAS things that you can buy to stick in a room in your house, and it's very easy. Plug the cable in, turn it on, and you can configure it so that your PC, mobile phones, tablets can link to it, copy pictures, whatever you want. Pictures, PDFs, sound, video, everything can be saved to that server. On the right hand side to that, we have a Raspberry Pi. Actually, it's just a case, but that's a Raspberry Pi 4, Raspberry Pi 5 case. A Raspberry Pi is simply a single board computer, so it's the size of a credit card, and you can turn that into a server as well. Next, we have a gaming PC, a laptop, and the traditional stuff that we see in movies. This is the big servers that we see in movies and TV shows. It doesn't need to be like this. Ideally, companies use this because it has much better performance, but typically speaking, for a home user like me, my laptop should be more than enough. So again, I'm going to keep going over this. What is a server? Any computer attached to a network that gives other devices access to stuff, and that stuff again is called resources. So again, some resources are updates. So for example, the iPhone linking to the iOS servers gives it updates. Images, meaning pictures. I can download pictures from a server. I can play music or download music. I can play videos or download videos from the YouTube website. We have general websites as well. So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, those are all websites, and they all have servers that hold the app and the data or the information on there as well. And the typical purpose of a server again is to give other devices on a network resources. So this is my computer up here, and I can connect to a server to download some files. This is my tablet here, my Android tablet. I can connect to the Google servers and download the update. This is my, what's this? I have no idea. Smart TV, I think. This is my smart TV. I can connect to the YouTube servers and watch some videos. This is my desktop PC here. I can connect to YouTube and upload some videos and then maybe watch it back on a mobile phone. So again, everything on the internet is stored on a server somewhere, and the server doesn't have to be those massive big PCs that we see here. It could be something as small as a Raspberry Pi. So I'm probably going to be using, as I said before, my Dell XPS 15 plus my Raspberry Pi 4, my Raspberry Pi 5 to make some form of do-it-yourself cheap home lab. So stay tuned for that. Next, we have server racks, and server racks are normally big. We see them in movies and TV shows quite a bit, and these are servers stacked on top of each other. That's how they get the name server racks, because they're racked on top of each other. I've put some links in here which I'm going to put on the website as well. If you're someone doing BTech Level 3 computing or BTech Level 3 AAQ and you have to do some form of virtualization, these links might be interesting. So this is a server on eBay that I want to actually buy for myself. It costs about £300. This one is a Dell R570 brand new server as of April 2025. This one costs about £30,000 as starting price. So I just wanted to showcase that servers can be from £50 because I can buy a Raspberry Pi 5 or buy a mini PC and I can set it up in my basement. So it is a server. It can give my other computers, my other devices resources. Or I can go on the Dell website and I can spend £30,000 to build a server that would be in a data center that Microsoft would have or Sony would have or place. Now, when you're talking about servers on this scale, people normally look to virtualization. So virtualization, think think about the word virtual means not real. It exists only in software. So for example, GTA 5 is not a real world, it's a virtual world. It only exists in the game. It's not a real place that you can go and visit as a real person. So it's not there physically. Virtualization makes computers exist only in software. Now that you might be thinking, how does that work? Because computers run software. So how can you then make a computer that runs software make another computer? That doesn't, I'll explain. This picture here was supposed to represent virtualization, and what it is exactly is this is my server here. That big gray thing is my server. I've got a pair of scissors, and virtualization will allow me to cut this server up into smaller chunks. Not physically cut it up as in use a pair of scissors to cut holes in it, but it's going to allow me to divide the resources on this server here and do some more interesting things with it. I'll explain what that means in a second. So for example, this is my gaming laptop here. Just bought it end of 2024. So it has 32 gigabytes of RAM, a 1 terabyte SSD, 20 cores and 28 threads, and it has an RTX 4070. So a very, very good gaming laptop. It can play almost any game that has ever been released on PC perfectly fine. However, compared to a server, that's nothing. All of these specs here are actually really bad for a traditional data center server. For a general person using a home lab, this is very, very good. But for someone like Sony, Microsoft, Apple, that's a rubbish server. So let me quickly explain. So the server I want to buy has 2 processors. So typically speaking, mobile phones, tablets, laptops, consumer level stuff only has 1 single processor, but has multiple cores. But servers have 2 processors. The one I want has 2 2690 V4 processors, and one of these processors has 14 cores, so that gives me 28 threads. The server I want has 2 processors. It has 2 2690 V4, so these are Intel processors. One single processor has 14 cores and 28 threads. I think I wrote this the wrong way around, but regardless of that, it has 14 cores and 1 processor. If I have 2 processors, I've got 28 cores and 56 threads. The one I want again has 256 gigabytes of RAM. Remember, my gaming laptop has 32. I've never used a traditional Windows PC for consumer people, so like for normal people like us, that has more than 64 gigabytes of RAM, but a traditional typical server has 128 as like standard. 128 is even rubbish. 256 is kind of rubbish as well. You have servers now with terabytes of RAM. We have a 1 terabyte boot drive for the server I want to use, and 16 terabytes shared, which means that we have drives adding up to 16 terabytes. So specs is what you will hear quite often. So specification and resources. So specs are resources, and these are the things that the computer or the server uses to do work. So for example, if I say resources as in processing resources, I'm normally speaking about a processor, or compute resources. It's normally a processor. So the processor I mentioned here has 14 cores and 28 threads. That's what specs would be linked to. So whenever you hear specs of a device, it typically means the hardware functionality that that device can actually provide. So you might be asking, why do we virtualize? So a quick recap again. So virtualization is used because expensive rack servers have more resources. So we want to make use of those resources in a very efficient way. We can split up the resources using software, and the software used for this is called virtualization software or a hypervisor. And the ones I'm going to be using are going to be type 1 hypervisors. I think I have one type 2 as well. I'll explain what that is when we get to it. And this is the act of virtualizing. So my server is going to have roughly 256 gigabytes of RAM, 16 terabyte SSD storage, 56 threads. I'm going to take some away for the Grand Theft Auto game. So if you think about GTA 5, I know I keep coming back to GTA 5, but it's one of my favorite online games. It just makes sense to use what I already know. So GTA 5 specs. The specs of GTA 5 are, we're going to need at least 4 CPUs, right? So that's, if we look at the specs for GTA 5 and zoom in, it says we're going to need 4 CPUs, so that's 4 cores. We're going to need 8 gigabytes of RAM. So let me go back to my PowerPoint quickly. 4 cores when I have 28 is nothing. Technically I have 56. So I can run multiple instances of GTA 5 on a single machine, meaning I can split the computer up so that I can run GTA 5 one time, then on the same machine, because I've cut everything up and I've split the resources, I can run GTA 5 another time, then another time, and that's what virtualization allows us to do. It allows us to chop the computer resources up so that we can do multiple things on the same machine. Another more practical example here I have is the same specs again, but I'm going to take some of this stuff away. And the LAMP stack is what people use for web development in some cases. So it is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And what we would do is we could have GTA 5 running on a portion of the server that we're using. We could also go ahead and have a completely different operating system using the LAMP stack, so someone could develop a website. So we could have one person playing GTA 5 from the server or on the server directly, and then we could have another person developing a website, then we could have another person editing a video, all from the same server. This is the power of virtualization. So here's a basic example. So not an exact representation, but let's say this is the server here in green. The full box is the server, the resources from the server. I can have GTA 5 over here running in blue. I can have the LAMP stack running here, so someone making a website. I can have another box here with someone editing a video. I can have another box with someone simply using a Word document, a PowerPoint, or Excel, or Microsoft Access. I could have another one over here that manages all the CCTV around the school or college. And again, this is the purpose of using virtualization. I can have one computer, and in my case, the one I want is 300 pounds, and I can have it doing all of these things from a single computer. It might not be the fastest in the world, but the fact that it can actually get this much done without having 10 different PCs is a big benefit. We virtualize to save money, to be more efficient, to be more flexible. One single computer, again, or server, can be used for dozens of smaller tasks. Now, the tasks I showed you guys earlier were quite big, quite hefty, especially GTA 5. But if I had very, very tiny tasks that only needed one core and 1 GB of RAM each, I could have up to 56 things running on this one PC all at once. So again, we virtualize using hypervisors. So there are type 1 and type 2 hypervisors. I'm going to be looking at the type 1 mainly, but I'll mention a few type 2s as well. So type 1 hypervisors are also known as bare metal hypervisors. They're installed directly on the server, whereas type 2, you install the operating system first, so Windows first or macOS, and then you install another software on top of that to make it work. So the type 1 hypervisor runs directly on the physical hardware, so no operating system is in between it. It is typically faster and more efficient because it has direct access to system resources used in data centers and cloud computing. So two examples that I really like are VMware ESXi and Proxmox. We'll come to that later on, so don't worry. Type 2 hypervisors are known as hosted. They run on top of an operating system like an app. So just like how you would have Windows installed on your PC and you have Chrome installed on top of Windows and you use Chrome to do everything, that's exactly how a type 2 hypervisor would be. You can still split up resources using a type 2 hypervisor, but it's done in a slightly different way. It is easier to install but slower because it relies on the host operating system. So the operating system that you install stuff onto, it relies totally on that. Something like Windows might not be the best, the typical version of Windows that we have, because it is very, very resource intensive. It is used for testing, personal use, and development, just like the other one, to be fair. VirtualBox and VMware Workstation are two of the popular ones that I've used before. So both are useful. And again, type 2 are programs we install on top of the operating system. So we install Windows first, then we install another one that's called a type 2 hypervisor. Type 1 replaces the operating system. Type 1 is more fun, and I'll be focusing more on type 1. Here are some hypervisors that I'll be looking at. So software used to divide server resources. Again, that's what a hypervisor is. VMware ESXi is now free again as of April 2025. Long story short, a company called Broadcom bought the company that owned VMware, and they did a lot of foolishness in the background, but now they've made it free again. I don't know how long that's going to last. Another one we have is Microsoft Hyper-V. We have KVM, which is known as kernel-based virtual machine. We have Citrix, they have a free version as well, I believe. And we have my favorite one, which is called Proxmox VE. This one's free. It does have a paid version as well, but I really like it because it has most of the features from the paid stuff, and it's really, really, really good. So what's next? I'm going to keep it simple. I'll be downloading and installing each of these just to show people how it works or what they do. If you're doing BTech Level 3 computing, this might be something that's useful for you. If you're doing BTech Level 3 AAQs computing or IT, again, I don't know the units that are going to be released for that, but hopefully they have a virtualization one in there because cloud is now such a big thing. You need to know how to use this technology.